Hi, my name is Eesha Sharma. I'm an assistant professor at the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College. And today I'll be sharing some work with you that I have with my collaborator Punam Keller, also at Dartmouth. And broadly speaking, what I study is how people react to scarcity in their lives, and that's in the domain of charitable giving and financial decision making. So I study how people, the different psychological factors that influence why people give to charity, and I also study how people think, feel, and behave when they feel poor. And so the research that I'll be discussing with you today is about how feeling poor influences your financial decision making, in particular your saving decisions. And so to give you some background, I'll let you know how we examine financial well-being. So you can think about financial well-being as a continuum that ranges from worse off to better off. And while people's objective level of wealth, such as their income, their assets, their material possessions, while that might inform their well-being assessments, these subjective comparisons actually tend to exert a stronger role. And what that means is how people believe their financial position compares to the position that they had in the past, to that of their peers, to their desired state. And when people feel that experience a sense of inferiority or that their financial position is worse off, we say that they experience a sense of financial deprivation. And when people feel financially deprived, they tend to pursue whatever opportunities are most readily accessible in order to restore their financial state. And in the realm of financial decision making and saving decisions, there are two camps that have somewhat opposing views on how people save when they feel poor. On one hand, when people feel poor, they may actually spend more. And so I call this the compensatory hypothesis. What people do is, in efforts to repair their mood, they may spend in order to make themselves feel better. They may also save less because feeling poor exerts cognitive load, and it might make saving decisions more challenging. They may experience a lesser sense of self-control, and they may have less knowledge about what types of behaviors can actually lead to better savings. On the other hand, when people feel poor, they may actually save more, and we might think about this as the restorative hypothesis. And these individuals tend to cut back on their discretionary spending and plan their purchases more carefully. So my co-author and I were interested in understanding how we might examine when and why people save more versus less, and how their perceived financial position might influence those savings decisions. And we approach this question by looking at the restorative nature of the opportunities available to people. And what we suggest is that although saving has tended to be examined in terms of a trade-off between saving and spending, there are actually two ways that you can use to improve your sense of financial security. You can attempt to earn more, or you can attempt to save more. So we introduce these opportunities to earn into the save-spend equation and look at how feeling poor might influence saving as a function of what other opportunities are available. And what we suggest and find evidence for is that when people feel worse off financially, they tend to shift their resources, whether it be time or money or effort, away from opportunities to save more in favor of opportunities to earn more. And this effect is driven by the perception that people's future financial security depends more on earning now than saving now. People tend to feel that earning rather than saving can be more restorative and more rewarding. And so we have a series of 7 studies that examine how feeling poor influences the resources you allocate to saving and earning. And I'll give you a couple examples of those studies. In one study, we experimentally alter people's perceptions of their financial state by asking them to write about a time in which they felt worse off financially or better off financially. And this sort of task tends to place people into a mindset in which they either feel poor or feel more privileged. And after this exercise, we have them complete a task in which they allocate the hours in a 24-hour day to a range of activities. Some of them include sleep, spending time with family, working, running errands, and critically, the 2 target activities were learning about ways that you can save more and learning about ways that you can earn more. And what we found was that relative to people who felt better off about their financial position, people who felt worse about their financial position preferred to spend more time earning and less time saving. And the amount of time that they preferred to spend earning relative to saving was greater in the financially deprived condition relative to the privileged condition. And what you might imagine is that perhaps one reason why people who feel poor may not save as much is because they don't have money to save. So if you don't have money to save, how could you possibly do that? And so what we did in another study is we set up a situation where pursuing opportunities to save did not require cutting back. So what we did was we again induced a sense of financial deprivation for half of our participants, and then we gave them the opportunity to choose between two potential jobs. The jobs were described as being exactly the same, with the exact same level of promotions and advancement, and what we told them was that they differ only in terms of their annual bonus and their transportation expenses. But in total, both would give them the same amount of money, the same net increase in money. So the earning frame job, people would receive a bonus of $5,000, but they would have to travel further, and they would incur $1,000 in travel expenses. So the net amount that they would take home is $4,000. In the save frame condition, we said you would have an annual bonus of $2,000, but in this job you would have to travel less, so you would actually save $2,000 in transportation costs. And again, the net increase was $4,000. And what we found is that a significantly greater proportion of participants preferred the earning frame job rather than the saving frame job in the deprived condition, suggesting that even though these opportunities may have been equivalent in terms of the money that they would be getting, they preferred the source of income that came from earnings. And interestingly, what we did is we ran follow-up studies in which the amount of savings that people would receive in the saving frame job actually exceeded the amount of money that they would receive in the earning frame job. And despite being able to take home more money if they would select the job in which the additional income came from saving, they still were indifferent between the earning frame job and saving frame job. So what that means is, even though the actual amount of money might be higher when people pursue saving opportunities, there's something that's very alluring about opportunities to earn that attracts people when they feel financially worse off. Now, what we find evidence for is that one of the drivers for this effect is that people believe that earning more now rather than saving more now will give them a sense of future financial security. So what we did is we pursued a couple ways to try to reshift people's focus back to saving. And so in this job selection study, we reframed savings as earnings. So if people pursue earning because they feel that it should give them a sense of security, maybe we can have them prefer saving if we reframe it as earnings. So what we said is that this amount of savings that you would take home is actually like untaxed earnings that you can use to spend on other things. And so in contrast to the previous condition in which there was no reframing of savings as earnings and the majority of participants preferred the earning frame job, when we simply said that savings are like untaxed income, now the majority of participants preferred the saving frame job. And this was when both the net increase in both jobs were equivalent. So by leveraging the process, we were able to reshift people's focus to savings. And in another study, we tried to reshift people's focus to saving, not by leveraging that process, but by breaking it. So if people tend to think earning gives you future security, maybe there's some methods that you can use to question that assumption. So what we did is we highlighted the possibility of unexpected future expenses. And when we let people know that expenses may crop up in the future that may weaken this link between earning and security, they actually feel better about focusing their time and efforts on saving rather than earning. In addition, when you question the assumption that earning more today means saving more, they are also more likely to focus more on saving. And so what we tell them is, earning more now doesn't necessarily mean saving more. Sometimes when you earn more, your expenses actually increase. And we found that that was an effective way to reshift people's focus to savings. So I think think some of the key takeaways from this research are that, unlike what some research may suggest, which is that when you feel poor, you may be worse at making financial decisions because you struggle to make decisions effectively. It might be the case that people aren't less concerned about their financial security, but rather they believe their financial security comes from a different source, namely from earning. And in terms of how we might encourage people to think about savings, we've uncovered a few methods that practitioners can implement to boost attention to and preference for saving behaviors. One, we can attempt to frame savings as potential earnings and highlight how those savings can be useful for spending opportunities in the future. Second, we can sort of highlight that earning doesn't necessarily lead to saving more, and that there are many expenses that might crop up in the future that we need to be prepared for. And so that's a summary of the research that we're doing today, and in future work we are looking to find ways that we can increase people's likelihood to take advantage of other beneficial opportunities, such as saving in the marketplace with the use of coupons, for example.